Time to get real, reality TV aficionados. Welcome to the Giorgio Says podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Giorgio Takanakis, and I'm here serving you the juiciest updates on all your favorite reality shows weekly, as well as the hottest pop culture trends, and even exclusive interviews that will leave you wanting more. This podcast will keep you on the edge of your seat. We definitely need to talk about this. The Giorgio Says podcast starts now. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Giorgio Says the podcast. Happy Monday to all of you out there. It's been sunny, but it's cold over here in the DC area. So I hope you guys are staying warm if it's cold where you are. Hope you're staying safe if you're in that massive flood situation over on the West Coast. I hope you guys are all staying safe and dry. That's quite a scary situation to be in. I was watching the news this morning and I was like, oh my gosh. So I reached out to a lot of my friends out there to make sure everyone's doing okay and staying afloat, quite literally. Today we are going to recap Potomac, if there's even a recap to be had, because quite honestly, you guys, I don't ever do this. I literally fell asleep midway through this episode. Yes. I mean, to be fair, I was tired, yes, but not usually at that time of night would I ever just fall asleep through an episode. But this is really feeling like one of those workouts that's never going to end. And yeah, so I will give you some of the highlights, from what I gathered, and give you some of my thoughts, really. So it's going to be more of like constructive criticism and a little bit of a recap. But before we get into that, guys, we have some news. We have some quick tea, because last night at the Grammys, one of the housewives has said no to returning to her franchise. So we're going to get into that. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into some quick tea. All right, guys. So if you watched the Grammys last night, and particularly the red carpet, then you probably saw when Kandi was talking to Variety, where she did confirm that she will not be returning to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, initially, she said she was taking a break, but she ultimately confirmed she's not coming back next season. But she did say that, it's not to say that she would never return. It's just from her point of view, as we've stated before, the whole situation has been taking a very long time in terms of confirming the cast. We don't even have any details on when they will start shooting the new season. I don't even think they actually have confirmed anything. They might be in the process of confirming cast for the new season. I guess from Kandi's point of view is, she is one of the busiest housewives out there outside of the show. She does have a major businesses, I should correct myself, and she's worldwide. So you know what? When you let someone like that sit out for too long, yeah, other things are going to come on. They're going to take other jobs. She's all about making her money. I would be the same way. However, it would probably be really hard for me, though, honestly, if I was in her shoes, to turn down a $2 million+ paycheck, allegedly, for like 4.5 months worth of work, right? I think we all can agree that, like, I'll speak for myself. Listen, I'm not opposed to being on reality TV. In fact, I would love to be on a show at some point in my career. But, $2 million, yeah, I will talk about my family issues. I will talk about, me and Jeff, you will see it all. Like $2 million, we can work through whatever issues. If people are pissed off, I'll throw them a couple $1,000 and we can move on. But I'm joking. I'm not really. But yes, I would find it very difficult to turn down that kind of money just for like 4 months of work, essentially. But, the thing is, Kandi's been on Real Housewives of Atlanta for 14 seasons. That's a very long time. And, I believe Carlos King was talking about this, and he made a very good point. He said, you don't ever want to be the last one at a party, right? And funny enough, Jeff and I, my partner, we went to it was one of his older colleagues that he used to work with was throwing a gin party. Now, I don't drink gin. Luckily, she was nice enough to have other cocktails there for me to partake in. But nonetheless, we were talking about on the way home how, like, when you throw parties like this, because Jeff and I threw a holiday party in December. And, sometimes when you throw these parties, there's always those one or two people that tend to not get the hint. Like, they are literally the last ones at your party, to the point where you've changed into your pajamas, you're laying on the couch watching TV, flipping through channels, and they're still there. And yeah, so it's, I think, a great way for Kandi to, like, be firm about her worth. And I think because of that, she would obviously be welcome back later. But also, we don't really know what's going on with this new season and what they're thinking and who they're trying to bring on. I'm fearful. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure what direction some of these franchises are going in. And perhaps it may need a revamp for sure, but I feel like the longer they take, the less interested the viewers will be. And we saw this happen with Roni. We saw that, they're actually talking about Roni. There's a rumor that they're trying to bring in some of the OGs into the new cast for the new season. So that should be interesting. And quite honestly, the rumors are they're bringing Dorinda and Sonia Morgan into the mix. That sounds fantastic to me. And I think that's a great way to blend both of the worlds, old Roni and new Roni. I think the blending of the personalities would be great. Dorinda is fantastic. I would love to see her back on screen. Sonia, the same. But in terms of Atlanta, we're not sure because we don't really know who they're vetting and who they're talking to and who they've offered. We know that they did offer Kandi to come back, but she ultimately declined it. So I know there's been some speculation out there that perhaps she was fired. And I know sometimes housewives are given the option to say that they left on their own rather than say they were fired. But in this situation, and Carlos also confirmed this as well, but a couple people in Atlanta, shout out to Atlanta, my Atlanta peeps, they did confirm to me that she did in fact get an offer. She ultimately declined it. So best of luck. She doesn't need it, but we wish Kandi well. And you never know, she might be back in the next season or two, depending on how things go. Maybe she's taking a seat because maybe she knows something we don't, right? But nonetheless, she's very successful in her own right. She was relevant before the show. She added so much. So, Kandi, thank you so much for all the iconic moments and all the iconic bops that were produced during your tenure on Real Housewives of Atlanta. But guys, now we need to get into the Potomac of it all because I am not pleased. I am not pleased with this season. I know you guys aren't either, but we've got to talk about some of the things that popped up in this latest episode. But I also have some critiques for the producers because I think they've completely missed the ball. So let's get into the Potomac recap. Golly Nutrition is an inventive, people-focused nutrition company committed to providing innovative products that make taking your daily supplements simple and delicious. Their products are formulated with quality ingredients you can pronounce and flavors your taste buds will absolutely enjoy. And at the core of it all, they lead with purpose. Golly for Good is an initiative committed to playing a profound role in supporting the health of our planet as well as our local communities. Learn more about their initiatives such as B Corp certification, Vitamin Angels partnership, and Eden reforestation projects at their Golly for Good page. And if you use my special code, The Giorgio Says, at checkout, you will receive a special discount. Now let's get back into the episode. All right, my friends, thank you so much for sticking around. All right, let's discuss Real Housewives of Potomac. I have a feeling this podcast episode is going to be one of the shorter ones, unfortunately, because I quite literally, like I said at the top of this episode, I fell asleep halfway through this episode. And when I woke up, we were still in the same scene. I think it was the unpacking party. I don't know. It was just... nothing feels connected. Nothing feels organic. It all feels like a put on. And there's even some that are starting to irk my nerves because it feels like everyone's starting to isolate themselves from certain people. And I think they're forgetting that this is not your everyday real life with no cameras. This is a reality show. The point is for conflict resolution, heavy like emphasis on the resolution. Okay. We clearly have people on the cast, Gizelle, Robyn now, everyone who's just strong arming who they will and won't be around and who they'll engage with, who they won't engage with. And quite frankly, it's getting old. We don't really care. Honestly, Gizelle needs to, I don't even know. I could say so much about Gizelle, and I'm sure a lot of you can too, but I find it to be, I'm starting to think that a lot of them are really too tight with the producers, or the producers are favoring some of these cast members with letting them get away with certain things. Like, for instance, why aren't we digging into the Robyn Dixon, Juan Dixon mistress of it all? Because I'm confused. When we look at other franchises, right? If something like that happened in another franchise, I can quite surely guarantee that the season after that would have been all about that housewife withholding the information. On Potomac, for some reason, Robyn's getting a pass. And I'm not quite sure why, because what she did, I know a lot of you may disagree with this, but you're on a reality show and you're withholding stuff and you're not being real and you're not being authentic about stuff. And then you're lying to cover for your husband. Well, then you should just go ahead and get off the show. I didn't want Robyn off the show after I exposed the mistress situation with Juan. I actually said vehemently that she should come back to the show just so that she could have a major storyline. Yes, it would be rough for her, but this is part of the job. You know, like, we can't give some people a pass and then expect other people to be up front and center about every single thing that's going on in their life. That's just not fair. Also, this episode in particular was such a snooze fest. Some of the scenes felt like they were thrown together, unnecessary. They had no stitch to it. There was no cohesiveness. It's just a bunch of scenes strapped together and they're putting it out like it's just the greatest thing. And I just can't imagine being an editor and looking at that and being like, yeah, this is great. This is awesome. Now, I get you only can work with what you have, but then that means you're not pushing these ladies. You're not asking questions. And if you are, you've cut it out for whatever reason. I don't understand it. I mean, the gist of this episode was, again, we're with Ashley and Gizelle, and they are looking at fabrics for their athleisure line, which, again, another waste of time. Nobody wants this. No one needs this. If anyone needs athleisure, there is a multitude of places for people to go and get it. I also don't think Gizelle is the right person for an athleisure line, and this has nothing to do with her body. It has everything to do with her fashion sense. She doesn't have any. And by the looks of it, Ashley doesn't either. So I'm confused here as to why they would be the brand people would run and flock to, unless, to their point, because they are talking about adding all this extra fabric to the crotch because apparently everyone's got a sweaty crotch, sweaty butt crack issue, which I'm not saying is abnormal, but it's like, this is what a whole scene was about. It's just a waste. Then we have Nneka, who listen, I'm sure she's lovely. I'm sure she's lovely, but I just don't understand why. Okay, why are we having an unpacking party, first of all? Like, maybe it's just me. Maybe this is a normal thing. And if you guys have had them, please let me know. I've never heard of this before, and that doesn't mean that they don't exist because I haven't heard of them, but it's just a little weird. Like, I'm thinking about it from my own perspective. Like, if I had just moved into this house and and first of all, we wouldn't be taking that long to unpack because we are like in and out. But if we were one of those couples that just had boxes everywhere and we had just moved into a house, I don't think I'd want people coming over and unpacking my shit. You know what I mean? Especially not these ladies, because it's like, you guys aren't really all friends. Like, they could be like going through your stuff and like finding stuff that you may not want them to see. I don't know. That would really bother me and make me uncomfortable. I don't want people going through my stuff. Nonetheless, she's preparing for this. She also explains that she's coming out with her own champs, if you will, and I believe it's called Bidu. Bidu. I think she says it means new beginnings. Correct me in the comments if I'm incorrect on the pronunciation, but I do believe it was Bidu, which she says it's an affordable champagne. Again, do we need this? Do we need another champagne or prosecco? I don't think so. I have my favorites. I'm sure you guys all have yours. And yes, there's always room for more, but like again, what is the value? What is the need? Sorry guys, my hair is just doing its own thing today. Anyways, so yeah, so it's just weird to me, but then we have Happy Eddie, okay, who is, I guess, throwing a soft launch for his business, Happy Eddie, you know, devil's lettuce business that he's getting into, which I think is a great idea. And I've even talked to Jeff, my partner, and been like, how can we get in on this? Because let's be clear, I love me some devil's lettuce. So, and shout out to all of you out there that partake in the devil's lettuce. I absolutely, it literally is night and day for me. I need it. It's like my little glass of wine at the end of the night. So I was excited for the ladies to come and learn how to do a pre-roll because I can't do one for shit. So I always end up buying them already rolled, obviously. But like, obviously, if you knew how to do it, you could probably like create a little stash like Candace does. You know, she has a little blunt drawer, as she says. But the ladies get there, and first off, Gizelle's invited, Nneka's invited, which was nice, okay? Gizelle shows up and doesn't say one word to Wendy, which I think is so rude and so classless of her, because why are you coming to someone's party and not even saying hello? Why are you acting like, you know what I mean? It's a very pompous attitude that she has. She deflects a lot. We don't really know what's going on in her personal life because God forbid. So we have that. Candace can't stay too long because she's filming for a scripted TV show. So Chris Bassett stays behind, but Chris hasn't seen Gizelle and Ashley and Robyn, all the folks since the reunion tape. So he doesn't even seem bothered. But one thing that really kind of irked me was when Gizelle body shamed Chris and said, oh, he gained all that weight, like he's just sitting around eating. I find that to be so disgusting when people do or point stuff out like that, because you don't know what people are going through and you can't just always assume it's because they're eating too much. It really pisses me off when people say stuff like that. Because if I'm honest, people could really say some stuff about Gizelle and her body, and I'm sure they had. I won't be one of those people because I find that to be low-hanging fruit, and I like to use my intellect to fight people, as Aquariuses do. Shout out to my Aquarius folks. We are in the thick of Aquarius season. But yeah, I was a little disgusted. Not a little, I was disgusted by that comment. It was unnecessary and there was no need for it. But yeah, the ladies all sit down for what seems to be a pre-roll lesson, except there's no devil's lettuce. It's just oregano and parsley. Like, what are we going to do with this? You can't even take these home. You can't smoke oregano and parsley. I mean, I'm sure you could. It's probably not good for you. But nonetheless, it's so like, why did we have this scene if we couldn't actually, like, you could have done something else. You could have taken them to a weed shop, or I don't know. There could have been a plethora of different ideas. I think the producers have been dropping the ball this season, and I don't know who's in cahoots with some of the cast members, but you guys are protecting the wrong people. You need to be focused on bringing us a good show and stop protecting people and letting everything ride off of Candace and Karen, and a little bit on Mia because she's sharing some stuff that's going on in her marriage. But other than that, there's nothing going on. Am I missing something? I don't think so. I think this is pretty much a lackluster, worthless season. Like, I almost feel like they need to pay Bravo back for some of the checks they've received for this season because y'all didn't deliver. I'm sorry. It sucks. And I don't say that. I give everything a chance. And that's the same for music. That's the same. Like, my friends will always make fun of me. If everyone hates it, I'm the first person alive to give it a chance. This is not one of those things, my friends. I can't sign off on this. And I understand if you have stopped watching. Because if I wasn't doing what I do for work here, I probably wouldn't be watching it either. It's just, it's moving at a snail's pace. None of the storylines make sense. A lot of it seems very produced. And you know what? I think we need to be thinking about what we're doing for next season because this is not it. Now, I'm not a fan of revamping all these different casts, right? But either that or then some of these ladies need a strong talking to. Either you start resolving your shit with some of these women and stop icing certain ones out and keep your job, your champagne flute, or you've got to go, or you've got to start sharing more personal stuff about your life because it's not enough. We can't just have Gizelle popping in with her little slip and her little like horrible spandexy like athleisure wear that she got at TJ Maxx. Like I don't need to see this. I also don't need to see Robyn popping in and we're not even addressing any of the elephants in the room. We got one or two little bits where someone's asking questions. Mia, thank God for Mia. Because no one else on that cast is going to bring it up. This is so strange to me. Her feet should have been held to the fire this entire season. That's how it should have gone. And I don't care how that comes off. You lied and withheld stuff while you sat there and went off on everybody else's marriage and had a comment about that. You have to be held accountable. And she's not. So good on her, I guess. She gets to slip by this one. But, you know, I hope that they really go back to the drawing board in Potomac. They need to revamp this. And, you know, I'm not sure how great Nneka would be as a housewife because honestly, I don't feel like we're really seeing too much of her interactions with the other ladies. It's just this Wendy shrine bit that is not going to be resolved. It doesn't seem like it's going to be resolved because at the end of this, you know, pre-roll party for Happy Eddie, Nneka does what her producer told her to do, go approach Wendy and ask her to have a sit down one-on-one so they can discuss things. And again, Wendy is just biting her tongue. She clearly doesn't want to even have the conversation with her. She is making this so challenging, and I feel like it's going to backfire on her. It's really challenging to watch some of the women think that they own the show to the point where they can decide who they want to film with or not. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. Ask Ariana from Vanderpump Rules. She was like, I'm not filming any scenes with Tom. Well, guess what? You did. You have to. This is your job. This is part of the program. You can get with it or you can get lost. That's my opinion. If you know what this show's about, so don't come in there and act like, oh, I'm not going to talk about this or I'm not going to talk about that. Well, you need to talk about something because this isn't it. I can't imagine that all of you are watching the show thinking these are great episodes. They're horrible, and it seems to get worse by the episode. And then the preview for next week, we see that Nneka and Wendy have a sit down, but it doesn't even go well because Wendy gets up and leaves. So again, why are we even bothering with this? It's a joke. I hope they actually cut the season short and just let's get to the reunion and move on because I can't, like, I'm almost dreading Sundays now. Like, I'm not looking forward to this. And I love Potomac. I used to love waiting for Sundays for it to come on because I knew it was going to be fantastic. It was going to be funny. It was going to be shady. Not this season. Not this season. We do get another day date. I don't know what this whole day date situation we're doing this season on Potomac. First, we had Karen and her day date. Now we have Mia and Gordon doing their day date. But nonetheless, Mia says it's because when Gordon was iced out of the family and the money, they had to move. And then, like, they have no nanny now. So they have to do their dates while the children are in school because that's the only time that they have, which I find to be a little bit bullshit because it's like you don't know anybody that can watch your kids for a couple hours so you can go shoot a dinner scene at night. But during this, they discuss, because they are continuing their therapy, that, you know, it comes up that Mia did try to talk to a lawyer about filing for divorce. And Gordon says that he would opt out of doing a divorce and said that he would come up with some sort of mutual agreement that benefits both of them. Essentially, and we kind of heard this rumor with Karen, but I'm not quite sure how true it is. But I guess Gordon's point is, look, Mia's a beautiful woman. He's had her in his life for 10 years. And so for him, the benefit is obviously having a beautiful woman on your arm is always a great look, right? So I guess his point is we wouldn't get divorced. We would co-parent, obviously, but I guess he would allow for her to just go boink other people, which I already think is the agreement, by the way. I also noticed that Gordon needed to make sure Mia clarified something because they are filming this show. When she says it was a hostile environment, he was like, well, you need to back up a little bit and clarify what you mean by that, because I've never been hostile in a physical way. And she's like, no, not like that. It's just like you were just so like moody or up and down. You're like, you're the man. You want to figure it all out. And it's like, yeah, like Mia, like you're a little too messy sometimes with these, because if he didn't clarify, then people would run with whatever speculation that would have left for people to make up on their own. And that's always dangerous. So that was interesting. I also, at NECA's unpacking party, Wendy doesn't show up, shocking, but she doesn't even tell NECA she's not coming, which I think is also rude, because she was invited and she came to your event, Wendy. And I know Wendy doesn't seem to care whether she comes or not, but she showed up for work. You didn't. You keep squeezing yourself out of stuff, which means you're getting limited scenes, because I don't really see Wendy in a lot of, I don't feel like she's been in a lot of the scenes this season. I think it particularly has to do with her beef with Wendy, because we should have had this moved on and resolved like 6 episodes ago. Now we're going to go the whole season and they're going to still be talking about this whole situation. So you know what? Don't whine and complain, ladies, when some of you guys are not asked back next season, because you guys are all protecting each other. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. You guys can't be in a little clique protecting each other for too long, because eventually that clique will get broken up and you'll be forced to change your alliances. We're seeing that in Beverly Hills a little bit, and I quite like it. It's a nice breath of fresh air. I'm not saying I don't miss Rinna, but like it's nice to have the dynamics shift a little bit. Karen and Mia get into it a little bit, and Karen brings up that perhaps, she could have mentioned a couple rumors about Mia and how she's been sleeping with a married man or a rapper. And Mia, being honest, I mean, God bless her, she's like, yeah, I do hang out with him, but so does Gordon. And this is where it clicked for me. I think they have always had this arrangement. And I think in the process of everything, Mia likes a certain lifestyle. And obviously she's not getting those same perks anymore. And it's becoming more challenging to deal with an older man, I'm sure, who is probably more grumpy, because let's be honest, men, as they get older, they get grumpy and they're more set in their ways, and you can't really deal with them all too much. So mix that in with no money and not being able to do what you want to do. Yeah, those little boink fests are going to turn into a check out of here, because as we know, she's with someone else now. But like, I feel like Gordon was really trying to do whatever he could to try to keep her in his life without divorcing officially. But it doesn't sound like she's willing to stick this out with him. But props to her for being honest and forthcoming, as much as she probably, I don't think she would come out and say exactly all the detail, because in her interview, she said she had no comment about what was proposed to her by Gordon when he said this could be a mutually beneficial agreement that we could co-parent and basically you can go screw whoever you want. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it, guys. The unpacking party was also lackluster. We just watched women unpack NECA's wedding gifts from 2 years ago, which why are you not unboxing and unpacking your gifts from 2 years ago? Have you not sent out thank you gifts, thank you cards? I know. It's awful. I mean, me just even recapping what I found to be highlights was just like womp womp, as Camille Grammer would say. But you know what, guys? I feel like we're getting to the end of the season. Thank God, because I'm just ready to get to the reunion, because as I reported on Saturday, Candace was the defamation lawsuit against her from Michael Darby was dismissed with prejudice, which means he cannot reassert it again later. So that's a big win for her. And I'm sure that's a lot of bricks off of her and Chris's shoulders. So I'm interested in the reunion because I think we're going to get probably a better reunion than we did season. I do hope that Robyn stuff is brought up at the reunion and she's kind of grilled a little bit more this time because this season they're not. I'm telling you, I feel like the Gizelle and Robyns of the cast are a little too friendly with some of the producers and they are letting them slide on a lot of shit. But you know what? Who am I? Who am I? I feel like I want to be like Tabitha from Tabitha Salon Takeover, which they should bring that show back, by the way. Such a fantastic show. But I feel like I need to go in and be like, give me your keys. I'm taking over. Get rid of these producers. Let me come in. I'll ask the questions for the next season. Thank you. I think that's all, guys. Yeah, this was not, I can't say it enough. Horrible season so far. Horrible. I'd actually rather watch the last season of Real Housewives of Atlanta than watch this current season of Potomac because that was at least more entertaining than this. This is not entertaining at all. So remains to be seen what happens there. But I want you guys to tell me what you thought and what you think of this whole Potomac season and what could they be doing differently and what would you have liked to see more of? Let me know down in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. But I'm going to leave it there, guys, because I don't want to waste all of your time. There was nothing worth really recapping all too much. So with that, guys, I hope you guys have a great start to your week. Stay warm, stay above water, and stay safe. And I'll talk to you guys on the next episode. Bye.